All right. Hello, everyone. Good day to you all, and happy Friday. Thank you for joining me for another Rubik Weekly AMA. I am your host, Colin O'Brien, and I am delighted to be here today to discuss recent developments for Rubik, as well as interview a new guest. As has been the case for the last few weeks, I'm hosting this weekly AMA via audio through our Twitter Spaces and via video on our official Rubik Telegram channel. Being an AMA, I'll do my best to answer as many of your questions as I can. If I don't have an answer for you, I will consult with our team to try and get you a response. I would like to remind our users to DM me your questions throughout the week. You can also tag me as well on Twitter or on Telegram. And it gives me time to consult with the team to try to get you some answers for some of your more detailed questions. So make sure you do that. This week, I am pleased to announce we have a new guest on our show. Today, we are joined by Paul Walton. He is the CMO of Telos. We're going to do things a little bit different today. We will jump into our interview first and follow up with a short Telos-related AMA. Then we'll go over our weekly report, and I'll answer some additional questions from the community that have been asked throughout the week. If you are interested in lending your voice as well to this podcast and you're feeling up to asking a question live, you're more than welcome to click the microphone icon on Twitter Spaces or the raise your hand icon in Telegram, and I will call on you to ask your question later in the show. All right, so without further ado, let's welcome our new guest. He is the CMO of Telos. Please welcome Paul Walton. Paul.
Hey, Colin, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Glad to be with you.
Excellent, excellent. So, introduce yourself to our community, please.
So, my name's Paul Walton. I'm an SKP from the traditional banking world. I've worked in investment banking way too long. I've worked in crypto since around 2017 when I went to a Sublime event, which was Consensus in New York, and realized that crypto would in fact change the world. I've done a number of jobs in crypto since then. Joined the Telos team at the beginning of this year because it's just an amazing community and an amazing project.
Awesome. Well, yeah, you mentioned you went to Consensus in 2017. Is that where your crypto journey began? Is that kind of what inspired you to really jump into the industry?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I can't remember the number, but something like 10,000 people coming up with revolutionary ideas in finance and in fact in life. And I was just blown away. I realized that a decentralized model, some of the DeFi models that we've seen to be introduced more recently, the trustless blockchain models, I realized that this was going to be revolutionary. So, yeah, my mind was blown at that point.
That's awesome. So, I mean, that was 5-6 years ago now. What kind of transpired between then and now and you getting involved with Telos?
So I've done a bunch of investing, like I guess we all have. I've worked for some amazing projects. I've worked in formal methods testing. I've worked for a smart contract developer, a bunch of people developing dApps. I was looking for a new project at the end of last year and met George Vernon and Justin Giudici from Telos. I was blown away by, I guess, three aspects of that project. The first was just how technologically different it was from other Layer 1 protocols. The second was just what an amazing community Telos has. It's a truly decentralized, community-driven project. And, the financial geek in me realized that this is a protocol that could see its valuation rise 100-fold. So, yeah, what's not to like?
Right. Well, I mean, mentioning the how fundamentally different it is from other Layer 1 solutions that are out there, could you give us a better understanding of Telos? Like, more specifically, what problems it is seeking to address and how Telos is going about solving them?
No, of course. I think we're actually the misunderstood child of Layer 1 blockchains. Most of the blockchains that seek to implement an EVM are basically Geth forks. And as we've seen in the last few years, if there are errors in Geth coding, then they get replicated in the Geth fork itself. And you have to believe that the Geth fork is kind of the best solution to go that way. We don't. Jesse Schulman, who's our amazing CTO and architect, first of all got involved with Telos when it was essentially a fork from EOS, which, in its own quiet way, was an amazing chain. Written on deterministic C++ smart contracts, had some amazing characteristics. We introduced FIFO transactions, no front running, very fast transaction speeds, highly scalable. And so Telos Native, kind of took the EOS project and kind of improved it. But then last year, and this is what really interested me, was Telos built an EVM architecture sitting on top of EOS. So another Geth fork, we are essentially C++ smart contracts laying on top of the network native layer. And so you have a really interesting and innovative implementation of EVM, which is, if you'll pardon the description, better, faster, cheaper. And, maybe it's that we've kind of hidden our lights under a bush, or maybe marketing has not been as good as it should have been, but the world doesn't yet know enough about how amazing Telos EVM is. That's going to change. We're in the process of telling people just how different we are as an EVM from others in the marketplace.
I think here at Rubik, we can kind of relate to that.
Thank you.
So, what does your guys' roadmap look like for 2022? What kind of things do you guys have coming down the pipe?
We've got three priorities, and you're certainly one of them. So let's start with DeFi. If you look at the accumulation of TVL, which then tends to boost the valuation of a protocol, a lot of that is down to DeFi. And so we're accumulating DeFi projects at the rate of 2 or 3 a week. My colleague AJ Dinger in business development and Jeff Novak, who works with him, are doing an amazing job at onboarding people. That's predicated on just how good the underlying network is. Very low gas fees, for example, very high throughput, all of which benefits DeFi projects. Mm-hmm. But we're also starting to use our liquidity and grant programs. We have a grant program called Ignite, and we have a liquidity support program that we're starting to introduce. We're using those things strategically to try to boost DeFi. We're producing a graphic, actually, with all of our partners. We're up to 70 partners now, which, nice. I know compared to some of the other layer ones, you might say, well, 70 is not a big deal. But that's been an increase from, a handful, maybe 2-3 months ago. So mm-hmm. DeFi is going to be a major focus, and obviously we're very, very pleased to have Rubik on board. The second is just EVM in and of itself. We're starting a process of getting Jesse and the team kind of out there to talk to developers, just to explain how amazing the EVM is. We have our own AMA, in fact, on that project, on that topic next Friday, called, intriguingly, Building the EVM Supernode. So we're looking at EVM 1.0, which is where people are. But we're also looking to introduce EVM 2.0, which is where people should be. And as I say, it's our implementation. It's not just a replica of the Ethereum virtual machine. It's kind of our own take.
Yeah, it's not a copy-paste.
Not a copy-paste. Problem of copy-paste, as we found, is if there's errors in the Geth code, then you're going to replicate those errors. And indeed, I would also say, without having a pop at them individually, many of the transaction speeds and scalability and network uptimes that some of our layer one competitors are promising don't actually hold up to much scrutiny. Our network's never been down. And I think that's testament to how it's constructed. The third thing, which I'm going to kind of just give you a sneak peek now because we haven't launched it yet, and launch being the operative word, is we're about to launch early next week a huge NFT project. And by that I mean allowing individuals who can construct digital art files to create their own NFTs. NFTs have been an amazing transformation in creativity, but it's tended to be a kind of a professional sport. You know, you have to know how to mint, you have to know how to market, you have to know how to build a whitelist. And so we're putting together, I won't give you the name yet, we'll save that for next week, but we're building an NFT challenge with a partner, Byte, byt.io. Shout out to Byte. They're helping us to essentially create a hackathon for NFTs. So anyone who can create digital files can have the ability to build an NFT product line. We're going to run it for a couple of months. We're going to do a lot of promotion, and we have some huge prize money. We think that NFTs are going to kind of come back, and they dipped a little in interest at the end of last year. We think NFTs are going to come racing back, and obviously they are a major driving force for crypto. You know, so my three priorities are EVM, that's different, DeFi support, and NFTs.
Excellent. You guys are going to have your plates full, that's for sure. It's there's a lot of work that goes into building a business. So
indeed, and you're going to see us out and about more as well, I would say. You know, one of the things that's been I think lacking is that we really haven't had the time and the resources and the team, you know, to build big events. I'll just give you 2 or 3 events, well, 3 or 4 events that we're going to be at. The whole team is going to be at Consensus. We have some pretty special events planned, and not just a booth on the floor. We're going to have our own side room and run what I'm calling Telos World.
nice.
Telos World is going to be based on something called Cluest. Cluest were recently the winners of our hackathon. We ran an EVM hackathon. And if you haven't seen it, go take a look. Cluest. Cluest is an amazing AR/VR metaverse. And we're working with Cluest to try to put together, as I say, Telos World, which will be an implementation of their product already on EVM. You're also going to see us at Decentral in Austin in June. You're going to see us at NFT NYC. Big shout out to our NFT curator, the Big GUI. We actually thought that NFTs were so important that we should hire an NFT curator. And so Big GUI is going to be running our challenge. He's going to be at NFT NYC. He's going to be at Consensus. And then a final event we're going to try and get to is DevCon, which I think many of you will know is going to be in Colombia this year. We want to live in Ethereum's backyard and really show Ethereum developers that the Telos EVM is the way to go.
That's fantastic. I look forward to seeing you guys at Consensus. I'll be there this year myself, so I got to come by and check you out.
Thank you. So you guys have got an amazing project. Can we just talk about your multi-chain routing system to get a bit techie?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you and I have chatted about this. I love the concept. I love the idea that you can route token X to token Y, you know, through a stablecoin liquidity pool. And I know that what that does is it puts a big kind of target on your backs. So you want to minimize the kind of attack surface. I think Telos is an ideal token to go through that, because we have a natural kind of invulnerability. I mean, never say never, but a natural invulnerability to being hacked and to attack. We see you guys as being an amazing partner because you allow us to bridge tokens and TVL from other liquidity pools, from other DeFi projects, and bring it into Telos. So you guys are a really important partner for us.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's in a world where Web3 is going to consist of multiple blockchain networks. I think it's crucial. It's critically important that there are protocols out there that are facilitating the transfer of value from network to network. And its core essence, that's what we're doing, right? We've realized that the future of blockchain tech will consist of multiple networks, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. Some will be more popular in certain geographic territories just because. That is the kind of future that we see for Web3. And so, the transfer of value too, we realized it can't take place in one central location either, right? Like the protocols that facilitate the transfer of value need to operate behind the scenes. It just needs to be a ubiquitous part of Web3. And that's why we've put a lot of emphasis on our software development kit and are trying to get that into the hands of different companies and different projects, so they can just easily tap into DeFi. There's no hassle.
Yeah, you and I were chatting about this, and the idea of a widget, that Web3 has a widget which can translate, thing of value A to thing of value B. Let's just wax lyrical and think big for a moment. One of the biggest financial markets out there is the foreign exchange market. And, coming from the banking world, there are two things I know about the Forex market. One is it's very, very large. It's probably one of the largest business lines that the commercial banks have. And it's also often rigged. So, throughout my time in banking, regularly you see accusations of front running and self-dealing in the Forex markets. Yeah. Because in effect, these people get to see huge orders before they hit the markets. And these are huge markets. What's called cable, the US pound dollar rate, trades trillions of dollars a day. It's immense. And I can think of a day in which, two things can happen. One is there's clearly going to be a fiat to crypto on-ramp. And we saw that with, Plaid, Stripe, PayPal, MoonPay, working with Apple Pay. We've seen that people are starting to build these fiat to crypto on and off ramps. Well, if that's possible, if I can on-ramp my dollar fiat into crypto, then I can use your widget to translate that dollar into sterling or yen or euros. And I think this is what's truly transformative about Web3, which is it facilitates at scale with security things which were previously done by privileged middlemen. And those privileged middlemen in banking extracted a huge agency cost and often did things which were a little naughty. And I think that, services like yours have an amazing potential to transform those traditional parts of finance.
I wholeheartedly agree. And it is something that we've discussed internally and have been discussing internally. And I think it is important that we here at Rubik continue to expand and partner with strategic businesses that will help us realize that kind of future for DeFi and for people throughout the world. There is going to be a transition. I mean, it's the financial revolution, right? We've had a number of revolutions in the last 300 years, from industrial to transportation to communication, and now here we are. It's kind of not just financial; it's information as well, right? We're merging the two, and so this is the next big thing for mankind, and again, we were talking about it yesterday. Very exciting for us, finance and tech nerds, because it is the realization of a new form of accounting, which will fundamentally change business models, right? And how individuals are empowered to take advantage of the money they earn, the money they save, to then work for them, right? Taking out the middlemen and still having that trust. It's just going to revolutionize everything in ways that I think are incomprehensible still right now to all of us who are embedded in the industry, who are trying to take this prognosticational approach to what we think the industry will eventually be, I think most of us are going to end up being dead wrong about what DeFi and Web3 look like in the year 2040. And so
I think we're way too conservative, and I say this as a conservative ex-banker. I think that sometimes people in DeFi, you limit your perspective to the things that are immediately in front of you, and I'll explain why. And I think that generally economic change brings about social and political change. Think about the situation of a middle-class Chinese person. They're not allowed to move money out of China. I think that the limit is $5,000 or $10,000. Because in China and other countries, there's a requirement, a desire to kind of keep control of your populace. Mm-hmm. Well, if I have a widget, if I have a VPN and a widget that allows me to translate my Chinese RMB or yuan into dollars without limit, without observation, then that kind of breaks down any central control, economic control of the population. Yep. Inevitably, I think what follows from that is social and political change. Because if you can control people economically, you can, to a large extent, control how they operate and how they, what their sphere of influence is. The great thing about permissionless finance, and I prefer that term to DeFi, permissionless finance is exactly what it says. I have an ability to be my own economic agent, and I really don't have to accept anybody else telling me what I should do with my money. And that's a huge change in society. Yeah, I agree. That's very prescient of you. Yeah, I think that is the case. We're not going to just see a drastic change in business models, but also political and societal effects that kind of trickle down from this kind of fundamental change. The other thing in DeFi that interests me is the kind of peer-to-peer lending. The banking system, to a very large degree, controls who gets money. Typically large corporations have no problem getting money, but you and I, if we have an iffy credit score, we'll find problems. It's a kind of oxymoron in finance that the more money you have, the more banks like you, even if you lose their money, they like big and they dislike small. DeFi will allow peer-to-peer lending. I want to loan money because I've got excess capital, and you, who I don't know, but know that I can trust because of the structure of the system, you need capital. Then, what need do we have of a bank? What need do we have of a middleman?
Yep. Absolutely. And I mean, that's kind of the ethos of DeFi is you're your own bank.
You're your own bank. You're your own economic agent in many respects. Do you have any questions? I see people putting their hands up from time to time.
I have some questions from Twitter for our winners here. Let me look and see if we have, I don't see anyone with their hand up right now on Twitter Spaces actually, or in our Telegram either. But before I go any further, let's get into some of these questions from Twitter so we can award some of these people some prize money here. The first question comes from Bukon Raiden 9, and his question for you, Paul, is, I want to know more about what innovations the Telos dev and team are doing and working on this year. Are they going to give the community a big surprise?
I think it's kind of more of the same, but I would ask people to kind of look into what we do already and certainly come on the AMA next Friday. It's, the stable base is high performance Telos network, zero downtime since 2018, not hacked, very high performance validator and RPC nodes aligned for high throughput, and 0.5 second block times. So I think before I kind of move on to say and what's next, I would ask people to just dwell on kind of what's now, which is an extremely high performance network, which is very different from other layer ones. I would hint at some of the improvements, some of the changes which might come would be faster finality, would be the way that we handle RPC nodes and scalability, and the way that we ensure that at very high capacity there's no downtime. But this is it's kind of like more of the same. It's not like in EVM architecture you can suddenly invent something entirely new. What you can do is, if you do what you do now well, you just keep doing it incrementally a bit better.
Excellent response. I'm going to call on somebody real quick, Paul, who is requesting to ask a question live here. I'm going to call on Jenny real quick, and then we'll get back to some more of the winning questions here.
Yeah, thank you.
Jenny, you are on with us. Go ahead and ask your question. Jenny, are you there? Oh, okay. I have a swap as well, so I'm going to go ahead and...
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go.
Absolutely.
Now I can hear you.
Go ahead.
Jenny? We could hear you a moment ago. Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, yeah. My question is with regards to regulations in different countries. Like, I heard a lot about speaker. He was saying how it's been in crypto for a long time and its history and experience with banking. But I'm pretty sure with all of that comes different policies and regulations of different countries. How are you able to maneuver all those?
Yeah, that's a great question. The regulators, governments are way behind events. They'd love to squeeze us into existing regulations, things like, what's a security and who's allowed to transmit money. But I almost think it's too late. We've already built an alternate financial system and it's scaling. So if we're able to transmit money between us, essentially on a basis that they can't see who's transmitting the money, it becomes quite difficult for the unregulated part of the market to then become regulated. I understand that the exchanges who want to be regulated will work with the authorities. The IRS want to talk to Coinbase because they want to know who's got accounts and so on. But that isn't the totality of DeFi. In most DeFi, you and I are anonymous. And so the idea that a regulator can come in and require the money transmission, there are money transmission laws, that's what banks work with. The idea that the authorities can suddenly come in and ex post require that we reveal ourselves is kind of farcical. I think they're going to have to accept that the nature of the financial system is changing in ways that they're not really able to control, not easily.
That's a great answer. Let's see. I had muted him, and now I cannot unmute. It doesn't give me the option to unmute him.
Go ahead. I can unmute.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I think I think you answered that. That's fine, because then I don't know how do you have you been to Africa before?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever been to Africa?
Have I been to Africa? I have. I've been to North Africa quite a bit.
Okay, because then there are some countries in Africa, particularly West Africa, who have actually banned cryptocurrencies completely. So actually, I'm one of those countries, and then so going around cryptocurrency in that country, it's almost like you're breaking the law. So things like that. But anyways, I understood what you said, and that I think I'm quite okay with your answer. So thank you.
Yeah. No, I would say, think about the way that the legal system operates. One person breaks the law, becomes relatively straightforward to prosecute them. If a million people break the law, then it becomes an impossibility. And I think that's where we're heading, which is that people will demand economic freedom in ways that the legal system will not be able to deal with.
Yeah, and I'll jump in and give my 2 cents on this as well. I think it's going to hit a critical tipping point, and it's a global movement, right? This is you can't go back and ban planes. You can't go back and ban the internet as it exists today. The global population is going to speak loudly, and I think a number of countries, even if they remain hardline until the bitter end, if they're one of the last holdouts, there will be such pressure on them, not just societally, but economically, to adapt and change their sentiments towards crypto. So,
no, I absolutely agree. Do you have any more questions? Because I've got one more fun thing to say if you don't, but I'll just leave some space for questions if anybody has.
Well, I do. I have some more of these questions that were asked on Twitter for our rewards here. So I'll get through these. I have 3 more for you real quick, Paul. So Alex 5555223 asks, through what mechanism does Telos keep inflation for their token low, and how do they ensure inflation always stays low?
So there's only, there's a kind of a regular low increase in Telos to fund the network, to fund the operation of the network. I forget the inflation rate now, but it's very modest. We believe that at some point we would probably need to cap. There's a theoretical value. I think there's 275 million in circulation now. I don't see that inflation rate increasing, and I think at some point there's probably a good case for that inflation rate, coming to an end. I mean, clearly there's a theoretical number of tokens to be minted, but I think we've done a pretty good job of keeping inflation under control.
Perfect. This next question here comes from Sammy123VN. They say, I love staking and will always be interested in staking where investors get passive income from it. So what are the staking pool pairs in Telos, and what makes your staking ecosystem more attractive to investors and staking ecosystem connoisseurs like me?
I mean, it's the stability of the network. It's very low gas fees. I mean, just so low as to be virtually free. It's that in staking anything of value in a network, you want to know that you're not going to be hacked. The nature of our network is very robust, and our DeFi partners all have to pass a number of checks, principally that they're audited so that they will not be hacked. So I think our staking pools are very stable. I don't want to play favorites. We have, I would say, too many to mention. So I don't want to just pick on any particular one. But we certainly have plentiful stablecoin to Telos pairs out there generating, double-digit yields, which from me with a traditional financial background is amazing.
Awesome. I do have another person who's requesting to ask a question on Twitter Spaces, and I have one more question for you. Which one would you like first?
Either. I don't mind. Just fire away.
All right. We'll get this person in here real quick. Swalp, you are on with us. Go ahead and ask your question when ready.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I have 2 questions for you. I also asked this question in Twitter section, but I thought it would be more useful to ask them loudly, and I hope they get selected for the rewards also. Here's my first question. Telos state that it has the fastest EVM, and does the fact that Telos has the fastest EVM means it can transact much faster compared to Ethereum-based projects?
For sure. I mean, we have a consistent 0.5-second block time, which is blinding fast. And importantly, scalable. So that block time is consistent at very high scale. So, we consistently run infographics comparing us to other layer ones, where we are as good or better. And some of the people who put up block time similar, I would ask if they can realize those at scale. I don't think they can. Did you have a second question?
I have one more question also. Here's my second question. Some projects have become toys in the hands of the whales. What kind of way does Telos follow in order to lose control of the whales within the network?
Yeah, I mean, just naturally, the way that, I don't know if people know this, but the way that Telos was created is that we were basically an airdrop from EOS. So, when the project forked, we basically ended up handing out Telos to people. And we recently did a comparison of, wallet concentration and the value in each wallet. Very, very modest. And there are no whales in Telos. Something like, I'm just looking at the number now, just bear with me a second. But some very, very high number of Telos wallets own essentially a modest amount, which I think is good because that defines you. Here we go. The community allocation was around 93%. This is at the inception of the airdrop. And about 5%, just over 5%, was shared with people in the project. And I think that was about 100 people from memory. So, the token allocation to the people who did the work was very modest. The community allocation was massive, and we have no large whales. So, unlike others, this is an incredibly diverse group. Cardano, by comparison, has 81% in the public sale. Binance was 50%. You have insiders owning almost half of Solana. These are projects which cannot in any way describe themselves as being community-driven.
Thank you for the answers.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you, Paul. I have one more, and Swalp, you are going to be added to our list of winners today. So congratulations. I have one more question for you here. This one is from Nazmuli 684, etc. Can you list 3 killer features of your project that make it ahead of its competitors, and what are the competitive advantages that you feel most confident about?
I mean, the one's going to be quite sort of qualitative, I think. First and foremost, the team. If you look at the things that a VC looks for in a project to make venture funding, team. We have an amazing team of people. The core team, Telos Foundation, Telos core developers, is now to about 30, and we work together really well. And Jesse Schulman, who's our lead developer, is a rock star. So I think the first thing I would say is team. The second thing I would say is the strength of our community. The broader team of people who support Telos, our DApp partners, people who work with us, just incredibly supportive and very diverse, and we want to keep that. We're playing with a new tagline, which is faster, fairer future. And I think fairer is really important. I think we'd like to be the first kind of proper community crypto. And many cryptos aren't community. They're based on the profit motive and not on a desire to kind of improve human good. The third thing is, as I banged on about this, is the technology. But unless you have the first two, unless you have the people and the community, oftentimes the technology can be squandered. But we have amazing tech. We have the best layer 1 blockchain out there. And I think that during this year, as people come to realize that, you will see the value of our token rocket. Just from a financial perspective, and I spent 30 odd years analyzing financial instruments, Telos is extraordinarily undervalued. But I would say it's people, it's community, and it's tech.
Excellent. Beautiful response. That was, I wholeheartedly agree. That's one of the main reasons why I am so thrilled to work with Rubik, is due to their ability to work very hard, very diligently, be focused, to adapt, and I think that kind of that company culture fosters an environment for success. So yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, Paul. I know you are a very busy man. I know you have a number of things that you need to tend to today as well. We spoke about that yesterday, hence the change in our kind of format today. So I do want to appreciate you very much for your time. I look forward to talking to you again in the future and seeing you this year at Consensus 2022.
Yeah, listen, everybody, come to Consensus. Come visit Telos World. It'll blow you away.
Excellent. Well, Paul Walton, CMO of Telos, thank you very, very much for coming on. And we will chat again soon, my friend.
Thank you. Best of all. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. All right. Let's give a big hand there to Paul for coming on and being so delightful and answering all your questions. Let me now turn to our weekly update report, and then I'm going to go back and I am going to touch upon some questions that were asked for Rubik throughout the week, and then we'll take some of your live questions as well. And some of your Telos related questions I hopefully can answer as well, as I did my own little deep dive and Paul explained things rather thoroughly to me in advance. So let us hop into the weekly update report. So starting with development, liquidity provision. We launched our first round of our liquidity provision program. Right now it is live and open to all users. So you can go ahead and check out the link in the weekly update report for all the information pertaining to our liquidity provision program. And if you guys do participate, you can earn up to 27% APR in stablecoins. Now, since the rewards are distributed through a stablecoin like USDC, it has no volatility. You can check your APR daily and estimate your profit. All right, the second big piece of news for development is the Telos integration. So we have recently completed the full integration of the Telos protocol into Rubik. As you all heard from Paul just a moment ago, it is a community-driven network that powers one of the fastest EVMs in the world. This is a very important step for Rubik, and we are very, very happy to be working with Telos. Now, to go over some brief details of the Telos network, they are offering half-second block times. They have a highly scalable infrastructure, up to 10,000 plus transactions per second. They have low fixed cost transactions that in the pennies. And one of the coolest features, especially coming from somebody like me, trades, is that there is no front running. Telos Protocol, they have over $15 million in daily trading volume right now. They have over $115 million in total value locked. And as you heard from Paul, they are now focusing on increasing their TVL dramatically. And hopefully Rubik is able to help them do that by facilitating people moving that value into the Telos ecosystem. So we are very, very happy to be partnered with them, and we look forward to additional development on their particular network. We have two main dexes right now that we have integrated. We have both Zappy and SushiSwap liquidity available on Telos. All right. Moving on from there, I'd like to go over our staking updates. So this week, we abruptly informed our community about closing the second round of our staking campaign a little bit early. And we did this for the health and the future growth and tokenomics of Rubik. So things will make a lot more sense as we release more details during the month of May, as it stands with round 3 and everything. So we will share more information with you guys throughout the month of May about all things for round 3. And again, we do apologize for kind of dropping this news suddenly and in a kind of abruptly ending our round 2. We realized we could have done a better job communicating it in advance. However, do note that the decisions we make internally are always in the best interest of our users, of our token holders, and the company as a whole. And while some things may not make sense right now, they will make sense in the future when we release more information. But again, it is going to be a more inclusive round 3. More people will be able to participate. We are still kind of hammering out the final details. But again, we'll share all of that in May. Again, we do apologize, but everyone is getting rewarded for the second round. And we're doing the additional 20% on top for anybody who participated in round 2 of our staking. So there will be more information that we'll be able to share, and we'll talk about this as we progress through the month of May. All right. I am going to pause real quick before I jump into the marketing aspect of the weekly update report. And I'm going to answer a couple of these questions that have been asked throughout the week. So Mitachi asks, what's the status of the auto refund system? So the auto refund system is currently active and live right now. I don't have the exact time that we launched it again on the platform, but it is responsible for around 95% of all refunds right now. So only 5% of refunds are being done manually at the moment. We are working to get that down to 0 and get the auto refund up to 100% of all refunds. So the auto refund is up, it is running, it is working, and again, accounts for 95% of all refunds that are issued. Clump Moment asks, when do you think nodes will go live? And that is in reference to validator nodes. It is something that our development team has been working on extensively over the course of 2022. It is just one of the many things that they've had on their plate. We hope to be able to share more information in June. So we're looking at June as kind of the time frame for potential participation in running validator nodes. Now that is subject to change. The industry is wild, and we need to adapt and respond to changes in the market, to new partners, to new calls to action on development and things like that. So it is subject to change, but the most recent information that has been given to me from the team, from the top, is that we are looking at a June timeframe for that. So we'll share more information in May, but yeah, hoping by the end of Q2 we'll be able to launch that. It is possible it could slip into early Q3. We'll let you know. Again, we'll share more details with you guys as we progress through May and into June. Right. Let's take a look at some of these questions that have been asked live during today's AMA, and then I'll jump back into the marketing report, pick a few more questions, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up today's show. Let's see. L. Aragorn asks, Rubic and Telos at Binance this year. The exchange or any of their events and stuff that they're hosting? Definitely their events and stuff that they're hosting. Regarding listing, I have no idea. I certainly hope. That would be really cool. But no info to share on that. Let's see. Hillmark, he asked, what is Telos's incentive like for developers, since chains can't get much transactions on it without attracting developers to build on the chain? That's a great question, Hillmark. I believe they are the inherent tech behind the network itself is what is attractive to developers. Anyone who's worked in the crypto space for a while has identified what the strengths and weaknesses are of a lot of these different networks. And I think that's what Telos is the realization of, right? Is looking at the shortcomings and complications that other layer one solutions have identified over the last 7-8 years. And they took all of that and built Telos. So I think that is probably the main incentive. But I'll shoot him a DM. I'll shoot Paul a DM and see if he can get me a proper quote from Telos. Patrick Kruger says, Telos, Paul, he mentioned inherent vulnerabilities with Telos. No, he was saying there's inherent vulnerabilities with other EVMs that are forked off of Geth. So if you're dealing with a fork EVM, if there is a exploit that is identified on a separate network, but your network is the same exact core code copy, then that vulnerability exists on your network. What they have done is they have rebuilt the EVM from the ground up. So it's not a copy of anyone else's code. It is their own code, coded. I mean, you don't say really coded to the metal, but essentially, right, like a blockchain equivalent of coding to the metal, right, like hardware coding. I think that is what he was referring to, in that they don't have the vulnerabilities that are inherent to some of these forked, network copies and clones. Georgetown, he asked, what is the TPS of the Telos chain? It is over 10,000 transactions per second, and that can scale even higher. I'd be bad at this. That was a great question for Paul. He asks, Telos being a very promising layer one, do you have any well thought out marketing strategy to reach out to the average masses? As us cube dudes know, amazing tech might not bring you all the way to mass adoption. I will see if I can get a quote from him on that as well. Patrick Kruger asked a two-part question. He wanted me to explain the second round of token staking. Why was it closed early? I answered that. He acknowledged that. And then when can we withdraw to get full benefits? From my understanding, is if you keep them in there until May 8th, would be optimal and ideal. You will get the extra 20% bonus on top of what you've already earned during the 2-month staking period for round 2. And that would require you to keep them in there until May 8th. So I'll try to get like an exact UTC time, and we'll go ahead and try to put that up in a tweet, and also put it in a Medium article, and then again share it here in our Telegram community, maybe put a pinned post up, and then as well as crossed all the rest of our socials as well. Coleman asks, when is Rubik going to increase the value transfer across multi-chain from its current limit? We are going to be sharing more information regarding that next week, actually. So I don't want to jump the gun and talk about that just yet, but we are going to talk about individual transaction volume size and increases as it pertains to that next week. So we'll share all of that with you guys then. But it is coming. It is coming. I'd be bad at this. Asks, if validator nodes do happen in June, how should we go about locking tokens in the next staking round? That's a fantastic question. I don't have all of the details yet on how everything is going to function. It is possible, and this is me just throwing out my hypothesis or conjecture about what I think the team would end up doing or how that would operate. So don't hold it to the official company position. But the same way we are able to identify people that have BRBC staked right now by reissuing XBRBC to them, it's possible that we would enable people to run a validator node with XBRBC, right? So that would be my guess. Again, I'm not 100% sure on that. That's a fantastic question and something that I will absolutely forward to the team and try to get you a response on, or at least have the team formulate an official response, an official answer to that type of question. And that would be like a little section in an upcoming Medium article. It's kind of what it sounds like to me. But thank you for that question. Excellent question. Terry Glow wants to know, does the liquidity provision stay open until full, or will it close at a certain date? It is, as far as I know, going to remain open until full. So, and will this affect the APR to rise if it is lower than full? Possibly. I don't know the math that we have, the mathematics scheme we have behind it. I have not seen the actual formulas and the details, so I don't know. But I will forward that question onto our dev team and try to get a response on that. Patrick asked, last time I checked, there were some issues with Solana. Have they been resolved? From what I understand, yes. So we are still trying right now to get it to play nice with the rest of our software development kit. The same applies to the Near protocol as well. There was an issue with stability and the stability and performance of the stablecoins and the bridging of that to those networks. Those were some of the issues that we were trying to resolve, just some bugs going from EVM to kind of non-EVM. So I think that things should be operating much more smoothly now. That's not to say that there may not be additional bugs that we identify or that pop up as we continue to add additional networks to our protocol. So never say never. But from what I understand, the issues that users were having over the last few weeks with Solana have been resolved by the team. William asks, what quarter specifically is it visible for us to see the implementation of lending and borrowing on Rubik? Fantastic question. I don't know. A lot of that depends on our partners. So I will say that we have been in contact and we are working behind the scenes with different companies that are involved in lending and borrowing. And we have, we're like I said, we're working with them right now. And integration depends not just on what we're able to do, but how they're able to work with us. And a lot of different dev teams in the industry are working on a lot of different projects right now. There's a lot of collaboration, a lot of different projects integrating each other, and we're no different. So we've got a number of irons in the fire right now. So it is not 100% dependent upon our development. It depends on whether or not some of these other companies that we are working on integrating can have the time for their devs to work with our devs. So a lot of it is just collaboration, scheduling. Again, I think a lot of people don't realize how busy people are in this industry when you try to book meetings. It is not uncommon for a meeting to get booked a week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks out because people's calendars are so full. It's a wild industry. It's the wild west of finance right now. But it is very exciting. We're working with a number of different projects right now, on a number of different features and aspects that we want to introduce to our users, to introduce to Rubik. So as we progress in development on those items, on those additional features, we'll openly talk about them with our community. As of right now, I don't have any additional information to share, other than it is something that we were hoping to have finished in Q2, at least have something related to that. But again, this industry is wild. You constantly have to adapt to market conditions, to development and progress in coordination with other companies. So things can get delayed. It's possible that something like that slips into Q3, but as soon as we're confident about a timeline for that kind of thing, we'll share it with the community. Okay, before I go any further, I'm going to jump back into the weekly report here from marketing. So this week we raffled whitelist spots for our liquidity provision program. There's a link to all of the lucky winners that were guaranteed their allocation of $800 in USDC. So you'll be able to check that out in the weekly update report. And our liquidity provision program was supported by a number of Twitter influencers and ecosystem projects. We have some screenshots of them in our weekly report. Avalanche Space, thank you for giving us a shout out. Also, Danny Wham, thank you for giving us a shout out. And also the guys over at Overnight, thank you very much for giving us a shout out for our liquidity provision program. Moreover, our protocol development updates and total value locked was noticed by a number of Twitter influencers as well. So Justin Jadushi, we appreciate his shout out. Again, Avalanche Space with the shout out, also talking about our integration of Telos. So we really appreciate that. And then also the Dex Zappy on Telos. We appreciate their support as well. And also Phantom Insider. We appreciate them giving us a shout out for the most TVL locked over the last 7 days on the Phantom network. All right, now to give you guys an update on our referral campaign program. So we now have over 3,565 referral links that were created for our referral campaign. These are unique individual links. And we would like to highlight some of the projects that have been integrating our widget with the help of these referrals. So the first project I would like to shout out is RYI Unity. They are Unity Ventures, a community-driven, decentralized application solutions company. I'd like to shout out Thunder Apes. They are a collection of NFTs with special activities and promotions for holders. Also, Pandora X, an advertising city in the metaverse with auto-compounding features. So thank you to those three different projects for integrating our widget, and we hope that we are able to help you gain more holders. All right, and the last thing in the marketing part of the report is just about this AMA today and having Paul Walton on, the CMO of Telos. Again, I want to thank him for coming on. He is a delight, and there are going to be 5 winners from questions that had been chosen through Twitter, and they are going to win both $50 in BRBC and $50 in Telos. And then we will also do our $50 BRBC giveaway for any of the questions that were asked live today. All right. Speaking of questions that are being asked live, let's turn back to Telegram and pick some more of your questions before we wrap things up today. Wall Street Bet asks me, do you believe Rubik will reach $1 billion market cap? And if so, in how many years? this is me speaking personally. This is not the opinion of the company. I was an investor in Rubik before I started working with them. I'm going to toot my own horn for a second here. I have a great track record of finding small cap projects, finding ICOs, and having picked big winners. There are a number of ICOs that I picked back in 2016, 2017. A number of those are top 50, top 100 tokens today. And I see no reason why my gut feeling about Rubik and the team and what they're doing would be any different than the other picks that I have made. So take that for what you will. I like to consider myself a huge tech and finance nerd. I'm a futurist, so I look at disparate ideas and try to connect dots where many don't see it. I'll give a perfect example. I was I was thinking about DeFi before DeFi was DeFi. I saw the 0x project back in 2017. I read their white paper, and I thought that it was fantastic. I thought that everyone was all about Polynu, and Binance had just got started and raffling away Porsches and Z3s and all that. And there was Bittrex, and there was Kraken, and all of these big centralized exchanges. And I thought that was counterintuitive to what crypto is, which is supposed to be decentralized. And so I had a vision back then that the decentralized exchanges were going to be the kind of de facto trading mechanism in the future for crypto. And that is why I had chosen that particular project way back when. And I have that same feeling about multi-chain future for Web3, and identified and did my research on different projects in the industry. And after getting to know especially after getting to know the people working at Rubik, and like what Paul Walton was saying earlier, one of the core pillars of whether or not your company will be successful is whether or not you have a solid team. And we have an extremely solid team. We have deep intellectual resources at our disposal, and we have fantastically smart people who are very hardworking, working behind the scenes to bring you guys, all of our users, this incredible service. So I feel very confident in the future success of Rubik. I am more bullish than I've ever been before. I know market sentiment as a whole is kind of pessimistic right now, but I think it's very important to keep your eyes on the future and stay focused. There was a lot of dismay in 2018, right? After the hype of 2016, 2017, a lot of people were dismayed, but it was the people that stayed diligent and had that foresight to position themselves to do exceedingly well with their investments that they had made in 2019, and then watched them grow in subsequent years. I don't think that there's anything different between then and now. The market will go through cycles, and we hope to capture user growth and volume growth as we enter into additional market cycles. So I'd be bad at this. Asks, how many first-time users of Rubik end up using it several times, like percentage who use it? I don't have the actual statistics, but the vast majority is what I've been told from our developers. The vast majority of users who use Rubik continue to use Rubik. We have very few one-time only users. C asked, did anyone ask about Sphere? How will they prevent such things from happening again? So we're we're working on some systems in place behind the scenes to help alleviate those types of issues in the future. I won't go into the specifics of it right now, primarily because I am not brought up to speed on the technical aspects of what the team is doing to rectify the issue and address any future issues. So I won't speak to it. I don't want to BS you, but the team is working on a number of different things right now to prevent something like that from happening in the future. So yes, it is something that the team is working on, and I'll share information with you guys when I get brought up to speed on it. Bush asks, is RBC token going to be a lendable asset as part of your discussion and agreement with your prospective partners? That's a great question. I think it would depend more upon the value of RBC itself. It would have, in my opinion, it would have to increase substantially in value for it to be a lendable asset to be able to carry an inherent value. Because we are limited by the number of tokens that are in circulation, which is currently like 110 million and change. So, yeah, I think that would depend upon the value of the RBC token itself. But I don't think I've heard anyone on the team talk about that. So I don't think so. I'd be bad at this. Colin, you rich, bro? No. I mean, yes, I have a beautiful wife and daughter. So, the best things in life you can't pay money for, right? And so in that regard, I am wealthy beyond my wildest imagination. I know that is a really kind of tacky, kitschy answer, but yeah, I do okay. Sam asks, are there any plans to integrate NFT cross-chain swaps into Rubik? Yes. Yes, there are. We'll share more information with you guys soon. It is something that the community has brought to our attention multiple times over the last year. It is something that we've had our eye on, and we are going to share some more information with our community soon as it relates to NFTs. Baby Shark asks, how do I become a validator? We released our validator code publicly on our GitHub. Again, we'll be discussing validator nodes more throughout May and into June. It will be something where you'll basically, I would imagine, contact our team to request to run a node. I don't know how the team is kind of structuring that right now. That's also something that I'm not up to speed on, but we will share all of the details as it relates to validator nodes and how to participate in them as we progress through Q2. Mitachi said, you said some of us guessed the household name right. Was this an April Fool's joke? No, I saw the name mentioned only a handful of times. It was glossed over, and yeah. I mean, I kind of regret saying that now just because I feel like so many people are hinging so much on it. I will say that there are a number of high-profile projects and businesses that are very excited about what we're doing. They think that there is a huge need for something like a protocol like ours operating behind the scenes, something that can be integrated very easily into current infrastructure, Web 2 infrastructure. So current applications you have on your phones, websites and things like that. They're very excited about what we're able to bring to the table. So our SDK, it's still in a beta right now. And a number of these projects and companies that we're working with want to see us release a full enterprise edition, right? To work out all the bugs, to get all the kinks worked out. So we're still working with all our partners to get feedback and incorporate that feedback to optimize our SDK from both ends, right? From a user end and from a developer end. Yeah, it's going to be very, very exciting. It's going to be a very, very exciting year. Just know that. I'm, again, more bullish than ever. F wants to know, what are the benefits of running a node? So the benefits for the protocol increase the decentralization and also increase the TPS or throughput of transactions going through our protocol. The benefits for users who are running a node will be rewarded. Again, I don't have any specific details about percentages of rewards and things like that, but a portion of the fees that Rubik accrues through the process of our protocol would be allocated to those that are running nodes. Again, we'll have all the math and numbers for you guys as we announce the official details. Wall Street Bet asks, too many projects promise magic but never release any working product or prove any revenue within a short or long time of release. Is your project also like this? No, we have it's funny, there's like an inversion, I feel like. But you know, we do live in clown world, right? Honk, honk. There are products, or I should say, there are projects in the top 20 that don't have a product. They don't have a product. They don't have anything that people can actually use. It's a lot of promises. And that's insane because they're worth billions or tens of billions of dollars. We have a functioning product. We don't just have a functioning product. We have 3 functioning products. We have our own app, we have our widget, and we have our SDK, all utilizing our multi-chain protocol. So, and our DEX aggregation and our smart routing. I mean, we have so much that we've created, and our market cap does not reflect that. So I guess, you know, we need to do better about building relationships with businesses behind the scenes, because I think that is what is going to drive a substantial portion of our volume, is not funneling people to app.rubic.exchange per se, but to have them still utilizing our protocol across a number of different applications, wallets, websites. That is going to be the goal. I'd be bad at this. Asks, are you aware of anyone else out there that is developing an SDK as well? Is Rubik being threatened here long term by anyone? Yeah, there are other businesses out there that are currently making an SDK. I believe Rango Exchange is one of them. I don't know where they are on their development. I know that we've been working on it for a long time, and we've been devoting a lot of resources to it. So I feel like even if it is something that they're working on, we are probably far ahead in development. But again, it's not a zero-sum game. I don't think any one particular multi-chain protocol is going to win out. I think the market is going to be large enough for a number of solutions to exist. Some may be more popular in certain territories than others. Some may be more attractive to certain business models or industries. You know, we're going to work on trying to take advantage of the lead and development time that we've had on our SDK, by trying to get it into the hands of as many potential partners as possible, both big and small. So. Wall Street Bet asks, our marketing team's working on new listings. We would like to be listed on a number of tier 1 exchanges. Nothing has changed in that regard. And due to non-disclosure agreements, we're not allowed to talk about anything as it relates to listings on any major exchanges. But but it is something that we would like to see for our token, yes. And to that end, we are working on it. All right. That is pretty much going to do it for today. I am going to grab some of these names and put them into my randomizer here. And we'll go ahead and pick a winner for today's $50 worth of BRBC. Okay, I think that's it. Let me just take a peek. Oh, push, get you in there. Let's see. Okay, we have got a new winner for the week. Congratulations to F. You are our winner of $50 of BRBC. Username @Fed2193. Congratulations, you are the winner of $50 worth of BRBC. Go ahead and shoot me a DM after today's show with your wallet address, and we'll get you all hooked up with that. That's really funny. F was like, I never win. You just won, my friend. So never say never. That's a good lesson for you right there. Never say never. Patrick Kruger, my friend, keep trying. You will win. I guarantee you'll win sometime. All right. Everybody, thank you so very much for joining me today. Again, I want to give a big thank you to Paul Walton, CMO of Telos, for coming on today's podcast, for sharing his insights in the industry, his backstory, and all things Telos. So again, thank you, Paul, for coming on. I'd love to have you on again in the future. We can go into a more broad conversation about crypto and DeFi as a whole. Here at Rubik, we really appreciate the support from our community. We cannot do it without you guys. So on behalf of everyone at Rubik, I sincerely thank you for participating in today's AMA. Both if you asked any questions or just listening to it right now after the fact. Thank you for being an active member in our community and for believing in us here at Rubik. We couldn't do it without you guys and your support. So thank you very, very, very much. So that is going to do it for another episode of Rubik Weekly AMA. I have been your host, Colin O'Brien. Thank you all so very much for stopping by. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, stay hydrated, but most importantly, stay cubic. Take care, everyone.